All right, hurricane season is here, and Mappus Insurance is dedicated to providing the Low Country with excellent insurance. We welcome Mappus Insurance President Andrew Muller with more on flood, wind, and hail insurance. Hurricane season started yesterday, June
Correct.
the 1st, all the way through the end of November. And people need to be aware of that. They should have been aware of it years ago if they live here in the Charleston area. But people really need to be aware of what their insurance coverage covers, correct?
Absolutely. So a lot of people don't really think about hurricane season being 6 months long, and they think, well, maybe it's during the summer months.
Sure.
But it goes all the way almost to Christmas. So it's obviously a very important thing for people to understand, especially if you own a house, because there are many companies out there that don't provide wind and hail or hurricane insurance for certain homes that are in certain areas. So there could be people out there that think that they're covered through their homeowner's insurance, but they might not have wind and hurricane insurance. So that's the biggest thing. And then if you do have it, you really need to understand how it's going to work.
Yeah, because whenever Hugo came through, there was an adjustment with insurance companies and policies, and some insurance companies, if you're going up Highway 17, right outside the door here, if you're going up Highway 17, if you are to the west of Highway 17, they'll insure you.
Correct.
If you're to the east, they won't do it.
Correct.
Those are some, but not you guys.
Correct. So the studio we're in right now, we are in Hurricane Zone 2, Wind Zone 2. So if you live in this area east of 17, then a lot of your mainstream companies are not going to write the wind insurance. So if you don't have either a separate wind policy or if you don't work with an insurance agency like Mappus that specializes with these companies that will write the wind insurance, then you potentially could have a huge risk sitting out there.
Absolutely. When you look at your insurance policy, when you sit down with your insurance agent, you really need to break it down with what is covered, what is not covered, and then also the deductibles, because everything may be covered, but the deductibles may be just outrageous.
Correct. So there are companies out there that might have 2, 3, 4, 5% wind and hail or hurricane deductibles, and on a home, even with a replacement cost of $500,000 with a 5% deductible, that doesn't mean you pay 5% of the loss.
I'm thinking that's $25,000.
That means $25,000 before insurance kicks in, and a lot of people don't realize that. So that's what we try to do, is just really educate people on what they have, because they just don't know. They just assume that they're covered.
Absolutely. Tell us what exactly is a wind pool, because you hear that term a lot of times in insurance. Meteorologists talk about it as well.
So there are what are called really two zones of what we call the wind pool. And if you think about Isle of Palm, Sullivan's Island, Folly, Kiowa, all the barrier islands, those are in what's called Zone 1. And then as you get off of those islands, you're in Zone 2 of the wind pool. So it's just a defined area. And then in Mount Pleasant, it's easy to define because it's Highway 17. It's Johnny Dodds. If you live on the water or the ocean side, you're in Zone 2, and once you get on the other side, you're not in the wind pool zone at all.
Flood insurance, because whenever, it was just last year when Matthew came through, it flooded a lot of areas, areas that normally wouldn't expect to see flooding. But flood insurance, is that covered under a normal insurance policy?
No.
Okay.
So, and there's a big misconception out there as well where people think that they're not in a flood insurance or a flood zone, but everyone is in a flood zone. If they're not being required to carry flood insurance by their lender, that just means they're in an X flood zone. Okay. And so X flood zone policies are very inexpensive, but people need to understand that because you're in an X zone doesn't mean you're not going to flood. 25 to 30% of all flood claims happen in X flood zones. So,
out of the flood zone, so to speak, in a sense.
Correct.
I understand on Google you guys have got a lot of 5-star reviews that are on there. Tell us about those.
Well, it really just comes down to the service. We try to be a little bit different in the community with how we handle our insurance and handle that client experience, really. We aren't just out there just trying to quote somebody's insurance and hope we're the cheapest. We really want to sit down with them, let them understand and educate them on what they have, what we're offering, and if it makes sense, it makes sense. If not, thanks for the opportunity.
Going through in a very layman's term, street level term, where people can really understand it, what the deductibles are, where you're saying, you've got a $500,000 home. If there's $100,000 of damage to that home and you have 5%, you're looking at $5,000 out of pocket, right? For that repair of $100,000?
Correct.
Yeah. So for people to understand that. That's why they need to sit down with yourself, with their agent, and understand what's going on. Tell us about your referral program that you've got.
Certainly. So it's an amazing program. We've teamed up with Wynwood Farms, Wynwood Family Services, and for every referral we receive, we will donate $10 to Wynwood Family Services. Whether we write that account or not, we just ask for a fair shot at looking at their business and looking at their home and auto insurance and letting us quote it out. And if they allow that, then we will donate $10 to Wynwood Family Services.
Absolutely. Andrew, thank you so very much. Check them out. Mappus Insurance right here in the Mount Pleasant area, but they insure folks all over the place. Give them a call. There's the number. We've got more Low Country Live coming up right after the break. Stay with us.
Cool.